Well, everybody, welcome to what will be the last edition of Rampage Recap. I am Xenaero, and I'm joined by Nexus, the co-commissioner. Well, really the only commissioner of the Rampage Duel League after X-Wiz took a tumble down some steps. Welcome to the show.
Thanks again, yeah. R.I.P. X-Wiz.
He gone.
Yeah, forever.
So what we saw this past week was the last couple matches of the Pro Division lower bracket, as well as the championship match for the Pro Division. But before we get into that, we do want to extend a big thanks to everybody who has been contributing to the channel over the duration of the Rampage Duel League. We've raised over $130, $131 to be exact, and that will cover server costs for, I believe, a full month actually of the event, which is really cool to see the community come out and do. So thank you again for doing that. It's awesome to fundraise for multiplayer community events. We're a very tight-knit community. But that's pretty much all I got to say. Nexus, do you have anything to say before we get into the brackets?
Not really. I mean, most of the meat and potatoes is in the brackets and in the matches themselves. But yeah, like Zen said, thanks for donating, everybody. That's really huge.
And speaking of the brackets, let's take a look at what we got here. So we ended the championship, as you see here. Nexus did walk away the champion of the Pro Division after a stellar upper bracket run. But there was a lot of matches to be played, so again, thank you to everybody who came out for the Pro Division and played a set of grueling games, no matter what skill level you are, what division you are. Thank you to everybody who played in every division, really. It made this league very successful and very fun to broadcast and cover. But that's pretty much it for the pro bracket. Let's take a look at the intermediate bracket. And we saw Dragon walk away as the champion of the division after defeating Salt Mine 3-2, as we covered in a previous edition of Rampage Recap. But we'd be remiss if we did not cover the rookie division as well. Probably one of the most important things in any competitive environment is the up-and-coming players. And it's great to see 8 solid players come in and play their hearts out and complete a whole bracket. Thank you to those guys. It's so much fun to cover the rookie games. And that will leave us with our 3 champions for Rampage Duel League Season 1. Baj in the rookie division, Dragon in the intermediate division, and Nexus in the pro division. So we have the Pro Division champion on mic with us. So what did you think of this league as a whole?
Crazy trash league. Whoever running it, like, come on, like, they're terrible. No, I really enjoyed it. You know, as a commissioner, you kind of have to be a little bit selfless. So you got to make all these choices not on behalf of yourself, but what would work for everyone. And I think the huge highlight of this tournament in general is that you can be literally any skill level and still stand a decent chance at winning something. So I really like how the 3 brackets worked out. I thought on the whole, you know, obviously we'll get into it later, there was a couple of bumps along the way, but on the whole it went really, really smoothly. Everyone who played in it pretty much seemed pretty happy with the results, and yeah, I think it was a huge leap forward for Doom Duel in general right now.
Yeah, very well run, well-oiled machine, no delays really to speak of. It's been phenomenal from both players and organizers, and of course you people at home who enjoy the coverage that we put out. It's very fun to do. Let's get into those matches. First of all, we'll be looking at the lower bracket round 5 match between Lang and Poto, where Lang vanquished Poto 2-1. First, 50-43 on SSL2, his home field. Then Poto came back to win by 5 frags, 50-45 on Class 219, and then Lang swept the final match by a hair, 50-49 on that week's tiebreaker map of Green Moor, map 20. I mean, it's hard to cut it any other way, with SSL2 being a hell of an opener for a tight series like this. The first round was neck and neck until the 40 frag mark, where Lang pulled ahead ever so slightly and closed out his home field. We saw almost the opposite with Poto's home field of Class 219 immediately after, where the game was back and forth throughout its duration, and then Poto pulls ahead by only a few frags, but enough to force that tiebreaker map, Green War map 20. Came down to a single fight, with both players committing to a super shotgun joust at 49 frags apiece. Lang comes away the winner, and then moves on to his next game against Disparel. Which he...
this was... Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No. I was gonna say Lang and Poto are quite similar players, but we can get into that in a minute here.
All right, and then the next game, where Lang then fought against Disparel, and Lang came away with a 2-round victory, 2-0 rather, 50-33 on King 1 and 50-39 on SSL2. As you guys may recall, many of the games are decided the first home field by ping. So Disparel had a much higher ping than Lang did, so we saw that home field get played first. So close fight with Poto first, and then Lang stepped up to continue his lower bracket run. After taking down the semifinalist on his home field of King 1, Lang then moved on to SSL2 to punch his ticket for the Pro Division Finals in a 2-0 sweep, knocking out Disparel and setting up a titanic best of 5 against the undefeated upper bracket finalist, Nexus. Anything to say about this match?
Yeah, I think Lang versus Poto was a little bit more of an important match. Very, very similar players, like I was about to say there. Very aim-orientated. I think Lang and Poto, the main decider in that match was I think Poto just has a little bit less experience in Duel than Lang, even though they play very similar. And it's crazy that it came down to 1 frag, so there's no shame in there for Poto. This match in particular, Disparel versus Lang, the margins were pretty huge for this late in the tournament. I think it sort of reiterates my opinion, like I stated last week. I don't think this should have been the 3rd place player. I think someone like Amar would have filled that spot a little bit better, but that's just how the bracket went. And yeah, it was still a really cool game to see nonetheless. I think it sort of forced Lang out of his comfort zone. He didn't really get to play exactly what maps he wanted. King's a little bit of a slower map, so I don't think he was too comfortable there, but he still did pull off a decent score.
He sure did, and that leads us to the final match of the Pro Division, which was the championship between yourself, Nexus, and Lang, where you swept 3-2. Well, you had a 1-round advantage going in from the upper bracket, and sitting pretty comfortably at the end of the road, waiting for your final opponent. Lang, meanwhile, had been knocked down in the lower bracket in round 2 and fought all the way back. The series was kicked off proper with a narrow 2-round win on SSL2, 50-48, only for Nexus to retort with a win on his home field of Judas 23, 50-33. Then Lang repeated his magic with only 4 frags to spare on SSL2, a narrow win of 50-46, pushing it to what would have been a tiebreaker match on Dwango 5, map 1. And this is where things get interesting, as for those of you who may have caught the live broadcast, at the end of the second game of SSL2, Lang then said, "I'm not playing the next map, I forfeit," and left the server. At first, kind of thought it might have been a joke. I see he's coming back, right? But he did not. And at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Nexus.
Yeah. Obviously a very disappointing final. This kind of leaves a sour note on the end of the tournament. I don't think it should, and I'll sort of leave into a more positive conversation after this. But I mean, just to be blunt with you, like the fuck, you run a whole league, you get up right to the final map, and then the player just decides to leave because he doesn't like the map and he doesn't think he's going to win. It's disrespectful to the commissioners. It's disrespectful to Xenaero because he's streaming all this. He's putting a lot of effort here. And I think it's disrespectful to everyone who signed up. It's kind of just a fuck you, I don't care. But, if you ignore that and you just look at it from a purely, objectively honest game. You know, I think it was a good game up until then. Lang, absolute bot when it comes to aim. He's got great aim. SSL2, very hard to beat him there. I, tried my best. Came down to 48 to 50 on SSL2 the first time, 46 to 50 the second time, and I think they were really good games. Judas sort of was a good game as well, but I think just his sort of mentality started to show in the Judas game as well. As soon as he realized he couldn't win, he just stopped trying, and that's not the type of player we'd like to see in this tournament. Like I said, it's disrespectful to everyone who ran it. I think it's disrespectful to everyone who signed up for it. And yeah, I know I'm interested to see what everyone else thinks about it. I know some people sort of like tried to give him excuses. To be honest, if you're trying to give this guy excuses, you can go fuck yourself as well. That's just ridiculous. Someone who agrees to the time they played to, someone who shows up, someone who does all this, clearly cares a lot about the game. And as soon as he realizes he can't win it, he just leaves. If you want to give an excuse to that, I don't think you should sign up either. But yeah, other than that, it was actually really fun, and I think there was actually some really good gameplay here. Just unfortunate in the way it ended.
It is unfortunate, and we did, during the live broadcast, we gave him quite a large berth of time to cool down and return. We know that players do get hot heads. It is Doom Duel. It's very intense, very, at times very emotional. It's not the kind of thing we want to see from, I almost want to say professional grade players. Obviously, we're doing this for fun. This is a very big community effort on the account of the commissioners and the players who sign up to enjoy what competition is and what has been for the past 20 years in Classic Doom. And I've never seen anything like this in my history of playing or covering any games in that long of a time. For a player to agree to that time, know the maps, know the format, wins his home fields, neutralizes the upper bracket advantage of one round going into this best of 5, gets to the tiebreaker and then just says, no, I'm not playing the rest. We've never seen it before. It's disgraceful, it's disgusting, and we hope to impart on everybody watching at home that this does not happen. This was a wild situation. But that being said, it was a pretty awesome match to cover for the rest of the way. Or at least the time prior to that is what I should say. And hats off to Nexus for being our champion of the Pro Division. So not only running the league, but also competing, putting in the time to practice, to schedule games, to get people to upload their demos, and then win the highest tier division we have. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a fun thing to organize and a fun thing to play. And I think just one sort of last negative part, and then I think we'll get into this sort of more positive ends. But I think it's a good show of certain negative parts about the competitive community at the moment. If you look at the intermediate bracket, if you look at the rookie bracket, they went almost flawlessly. No one was complaining. Everyone who won it, everyone who lost it, was very graceful about it. Everyone was very happy. You listen to the rookie broadcast of the finals, you hear Vaj come on and he's ecstatic, he's happy, and that like put a smile on my face for like the whole day. I loved it, right? And then you get into the pro bracket, and once again, super smooth. Like 99% of the players, great, no issues whatsoever. But you do get some crying on the side about like maps and servers, and there's just a little bit more sort of just crying in general about, why isn't this my way? Oh, I wish it was this map. Why is it this map? Why is it this server? And I think it sort of shows some flaws in the competitive community as we stand right now that I think we should all work on. We're all responsible. We all play this game. And I think it's sort of time for people to sort of think about more than just themselves sometimes. I think when we get to this super high skill level, ego becomes a huge factor.
Entitlement,
and you
perhaps?
Yeah, a little bit of entitlement, and everyone thinks they're the best. It is how it is, and that's how it kind of should be. But you also gotta remember there's other people. When you're sitting there crying about spawn RNG, like it's Doom. Everyone knows this spawn RNG. Why is it an issue only when you lose? Why do you leave when going gets tough? It's only like a small group of players, but I think a small group of players does a lot in such a small community. And I think in a way, everyone's responsible into making a change. I think everyone should sort of think about more than just themselves sometimes, and I think this is a great example of that. But other than that, I do want to emphasize that on the whole, this tournament went great. I just think there's some small parts which really show a bigger picture.
They do, and for the most part, we have a very, very encouraging community where people are willing to not only practice at the lower levels and start to get their feet wet, or play even in Capture the Flag, let alone Duel, which is much more strenuous because there's no team to fall back on. We see a lot of people helping each other out, especially from the brand new Russian contingent of Vaj, Nico, Dante. Great. It's great to see that kind of participation, that kind of attitude. And when you're in the upper echelon of both, time served and in the community, I talk about like it's a prison, but
oh god.
At some point you have to think about, hey, well, how can I make the community better? And we want to see that more from our upper grade players. I mean, Nexus and XWiz, have been around for long enough to know how this shapes up and put a lot of effort into the Rampage League. So we hope to see less occurrences of this going forward. But for the most part, everything's been great. So I would still write off the Pro Division as a success.
Yeah, I would absolutely as well. Don't get things twisted. Just because there's one or two bad things which happened in one division, it doesn't mean the whole thing's terrible. If you look at the whole picture, it's great. I really liked it, and it was a pleasure to run.
Now, with this out of the way, do you have anything to say about? Actually, we'll get into that. Hold on. We'll come to that question in a minute, because I'm actually going to do something a little bit different with this final recap. I want to go back over the championship matches, and let's move from pro to intermediate. The intermediate championship was phenomenal. Saltmine versus Dragon, where Dragon won 3-2, coming down from the lower bracket with 1 round disadvantage, which he too neutralized, and then actually played his tiebreaker match, which ended up becoming a 1 frag difference between the two players. A phenomenal game where Dragon won 50-37 on King 1 to make it 1-1 in the series. Saltmine then won 50-37 on Pobla. Dragon wins 50-47 on King 1, and then that championship match 50-49 on Lazarus Map 4. I know we did talk about this before, but is there anything you want to add to our revisit of this recap?
I think just one quick thing. I think, to be honest, if you ask me, this is probably the highlight of the whole tournament. This is how I really wish the pro bracket finals went. This is how it should have been. If it was this tight, it would have been just an amazing tournament entirely. I would have rather have lost like 50-10 than have a rage quit be the decider. But yeah, this finals here coming down to just 1 frag for everything. It was fantastic. I think both players played great, and if you haven't watched it, once again, definitely watch this one. It's up on YouTube, like you said, Zen. So
yeah, the link is in the chat for people there, and of course, if you're watching this recap on YouTube, just click on the name and you'll get to the intermediate finals. It's pretty recent. But that was a phenomenal game. So much fun to watch. Definitely, I would also say this is the highlight of the tournament in terms of hype and player skill on display. Great job, Dragon. But we can't talk about the other divisions without going back over the rookie division, where Vaj won in a 3-1 series against Drawn in, well, probably one of the few times I've ever seen a rookie division in a dual format. I'm trying to remember if there's been a rookie division after ZDDL. I think Dragon may have run something. But regardless, great job from Vaj, who went out of his way to make sure that this rookie game happened in a broadcastable time for us at in the Pacific time zone. So thank you very much for going out of your way for that. Drawn won 50-42 on King 1. Vaj came back to win 50-46 on Mu 2D. Then continued on to 50-43 on King 1, and then 50-26 on Mu 2D to finish it out, this best of 5 series in the rookie division. Just a great, phenomenal match, and it's so cool. Again, I enjoy covering the rookie division probably the most, because you get to see these players develop mid-game.
Yeah, yeah, you see these people change not just throughout the season, but literally middle of the game, because the experience is kind of like that when it comes to such a high-paced game. Yeah, I think just on the whole, these two players handled themselves just fantastically, not just in this game here, but in the tournament, like throughout, not just in game, but just how polite and how welcoming they were to playing in this tournament, which was great to see. Like I mentioned earlier, Vaj's reaction to winning and being just so happy on the stream afterwards was kind of all I hoped for from a rookie bracket. And I think this like Duel League and Duel in general sort of lends itself to being slightly easier to get into than perhaps some other competitive game modes, and I think that deserves to be expanded upon, and I might try and get into that later. But yeah, the rookie division is arguably the most important division for the future of Doom, and I think it's something that people need to pay a little bit more attention to. If you played in the rookie division, or if you're looking to play in the rookie division, definitely reach out to players. I think people in the intermediate bracket and the pro bracket, myself included, should definitely reach their hand out and sort of try to help these players grow. Both of these players play great. There's still a lot of things to learn, so many tricks they can get a hold of from watching demos and asking people. If anyone would ever like any help, I'd like to hope that there's plenty of people around who would offer that. I'm certainly one of them. If you ever had any questions about Duel, just let me know, let someone else know. I'm sure they'll be happy to answer it for you. But yeah, this was another highlight. I think this is, like I said, one of the most important sort of parts of Doom right now, because it is sort of the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And because we're not going to be around forever. People move on, have lives, that sort of thing. But Vaj and Drawn and all the other players in the rookie bracket are the newcomers, and it remains to be seen if they continue to compete and grow their skill, or even host events of their own in their own region. We really don't know. But to see players come together, schedule games in a competitive format, execute those games, and then participate with the community at large, it's something we'd love to see. So congratulations to Vaj. And that's pretty much it for our recap. We do have a question from Detopian Sky. For DM maps, are all weapons required, or maps without all weapons considered for duels? It's a good question. There are a lot of duel maps that do offer the entire arsenal in Doom, one way or the other. There might be like a chainsaw on the exit, for example, but it is still there. For the most part, there will be a lot of emphasis on hit scan weapons, like the super shotgun, for example, and a power weapon like the BFG for players to fight over or plan tactics around. But requirement, not so much.
Yeah, it's kind of just whatever you want. Really, when you're a map maker, you can just choose.
Let's take Pobla 8 for example. I don't think does that even have a chain gun somewhere? Oh, it does at the corner.
No one uses it though. Yeah, it could basically have it and no one would notice. Not have it, no one would notice.
There are maps that don't have every weapon though. That is correct, and they do get played. But typically you'll see players mostly lean on the very powerful weapons like the super shotgun or the BFG. Another ask from Caution in the chat. How new are these guys? Well, I don't think we've seen them, have we? Before this
I know some of these guys play in their own like Russian league, but no one's actually seen these guys in US servers, and I think they're sort of from like differentiating experience levels, but for the most part they are very new to Doom, or at least competitive.
Yeah, not in our circle as so much, but it's cool to see new people come out, especially joining a new environment that is known to be competitive. That's not always an easy thing to do, but Rampage has done pretty good job of making it very accepting and running tournaments as well as casual events, which are going to kick off again soon. But that's about it for at least the recap portion. Another question: what maps, formats, or ports are acceptable? Is it majority only DSDA? Well, DSDA is not played in net play, at least to this extent. Most competitive action will happen either on... Well, there are three major multiplayer ports. Rampage runs their events on Xenaero, which is a GZ Doom based port. There is also more classic feeling ports like Odomex and Z-Daemon. So, much like single player, there are multiple options for you, and all are competitively viable. It just depends on who's running the event and that sort of thing. But Rampage is Xenaero only.
Could change in the future. We're not gonna tie ourselves to anything for sure. But yeah, right now it's Androna.
For now.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, good question for you. If events are hosted in the future, do you think you'll be trying to use the 3.2 beta that has been recently published by the Xandronum development team?
Yeah, if you ask me, I'd say yes. We might wait until a full release. I think full release would be a good shout, but I think it is a yes. I don't I don't run the servers. I just help run the events. But I think the answer would probably be yes to that question.
Okay. And, well, I want to thank everybody for coming out, sharing some of their Saturday time. But before we leave, kind of covered pretty much everything there is to cover, I believe, with those matches. But do you have anything to say on behalf of Rampage Doom servers before we play people out?
Well, yeah, obviously, you gotta do big thank yous. Huge thank you to the Disabled Doomer / co-commissioner Wiz helping run it. Theron for running the servers. Everyone who signed up. Xenaero, of course. Like this is huge. Everything you put together for this stream is like over the top, but in the best way. So thank you for that.
No problem.
And then yeah, kind of just going forward, the goal to make this bigger. Nothing set in stone right now, but if I had to shoot some goals to how to make this tournament bigger, it'd be maybe looking into making a prize pool for the next time around. How would do that? Not sure. Nothing set in stone. I'd like to sort of advertise it towards newer players a little bit more. So try to get maybe a 16-player rookie bracket or larger. Just kind of make it bigger in every way. In the immediate future, well, not immediate, but closer up, I think we're gonna do something with TDM in not a full league format, but definitely a tournament format.
All right.
So that's something to look forward to, and then just weekly events as well.
Yeah, weekly casual events are a great way to get started. If you're feeling any bit competitive, interested in multiplayer, that sort of thing, there is a link either in the YouTube VOD in the description or here in Twitch chat. There will be a link to the Discord for Rampage Doom servers. Pretty welcoming, multiplayer-based community, highly competitive, but a lot of great people there who will, if you want to get started on Duels, if you want to get started on Capture the Flag or TDM, what have you, there's a lot of multiplayer-minded people there, and we'll help you get started, as well as, well, you never know what kind of games will happen if you join a server, but that's the first part. Join a server and you might see people from Rampage show up. But that'll probably be it. So thank you again, Nexus, for sharing some of your time with me to do Rampage Recap throughout the season. So who knows what the future holds, if we'll be back. But for now...
Maybe.
But for now, that'll be it for today. And we'll go play you guys out with showing the last recapped games, as well as show our champions, and then that'll be it for Rampage Duel League Season 1. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you.